Well, viewers, this is a part 2 message on the subject. I'll just go up ways single mothers destroy their sons, and it's confronting, to say the least. I'll just overview the bullet points. Speaking negatively about their father, saying negative things about men, teaching their sons to disrespect their father's authority, teaching their sons to disrespect male authority and male authority figures, projecting anger at the father onto their sons, not allowing their father to see them, bringing in substitutes for a father, coddling their sons. It's inconsistent discipline, teaching boys to be emotional like girls, not teaching their sons what boundaries are, not teaching their sons coping skills, and establishing a codependent relationship with their sons, otherwise known as covert emotional incest. The next part is smothering, as we continue part 2, in ways in which a single mother can destroy her son. Smothering, something that prevents a boy from growing up to become a healthy, emotional, stable, functioning man. When a woman smothers her son, it's the equivalent of putting a boot on a boy's neck and never letting him get up. It paralyzes him and prevents him from moving forward in life. Many single mothers often kill their boys by choking the very life out of them with their constant nagging and hovering over them. When the mother holds a child too close to them, it prevents them from going out into the world and experience life. When they try to dictate the terms of a boy's manhood, all it leads to is him growing up dependent on women for existence. Bullying. Single mothers often use threats, intimidation and verbal abuse to control their sons because they often become frustrated when they act in masculine ways they don't understand. It's often this emotional abuse that makes their boys grow up to see women as overbearing, domineering, emasculating and downright hostile. This form of bullying often makes boys avoid women and avoid relationships with women. If a decent woman doesn't show him what a positive relationship with a woman looks like, he grows up to think of all women as monsters. The next one. Trying to run his life. I've seen this one. Some single mothers often try to control every move their sons make. This turns them into pussy-whipped mama's boys who can't do anything for themselves. What most single mothers don't understand is that a man has to go out into the world one day, and that boys have to grow up and learn how to do things for themselves if they're going to survive out there. If he can't leave his mother's locus of control, he'll never learn how to take responsibility for himself. Next one, thinking she can raise a man, be a man on her terms. Single mothers often try to define their son's manhood on her terms. They're often disappointed when their quest to make a perfect man out of their sons blows up in their faces. Usually when women define a boy's manhood, a male identity, he grows up to become a pathetic creature who can't do anything for himself without the leadership of a woman, or misogynist with a vehement hatred for women. What most single mothers don't understand is that only a man can teach a man how to be a real man. Only a man understands what a man has to do to navigate life in this world. And there are only some lessons a man can teach a boy about life, and women need to understand this. The next one, trying to turn their sons into perfect people. Another mistake single mothers try to do is making their sons better than their father. This puts a lot of pressure on a boy and gives him an inferiority complex. Boys who are trying to be perfect often wind up growing up filled with insecurity and anxiety. This fear encompasses every part of their life, making them introverted and withdrawn. They can't cope with the challenges of everyday life because they're afraid of making a mistake that messes everything up. When it's mistakes that make them better men. When boys make mistakes, they build the character that allows them to become stronger men with a tougher resolve. These people, the last lot of people I had no resolve. None. Ironically, in their obsession quest to make their sons perfect, single mothers wind up making their sons into pathetic, weak men who can't function in society, boys who grow up to become men who are afraid of taking risks, men who are always playing it safe, men who are nothing more than cowards. The next one, not encouraging them or supporting them in their quest to become independent men. Many single mothers profess to love their sons, but when those boys try to do things that will allow them to grow up and become independent men, they shut them down or sabotage them. Many single mothers fear that if their sons start taking adult actions, they will take them to the next level. They'll become like their evil fathers, so they do things to keep them stranded in a state of arrested development. Oftentimes, these codependent single mothers are afraid that if their sons start taking action that will allow them to become adults, they'll set boundaries and remove the emotional hose they're attached to. And without that boy to maintain that codependent relationship with them, they'll wither away and die pathetic, lonely women, which they'll probably do in most cases anyway. Or worse, they fear that their sons will find out the truth regarding the relationship between her and their father. The next one, not encouraging boys to embrace their masculinity. Single mothers often do their sons a disservice by not encouraging them to be masculine. Instead, they shame their boys about expressing their masculinity and in some cases punish them for it. Some women do this subconsciously because they have a deep-seated hatred for the child's father, so they seek to get even with him by sabotaging their son's development, by emasculating them and destroying their masculinity and male identity. And she hopes to get back at the man who thinks she thinks that he did her wrong. The next one, not encouraging boys to embrace their sexuality. Many single mothers are ashamed of their sexuality because the relationship between them and their father failed. So they teach their children to be ashamed of sex and their sexuality. Boys who grow up in single-parent homes often grow up confused about their sexuality. And because there's no father in the home, to show them how a healthy heterosexual male relates to women, he starts learning how to relate to the opposite sex from a female perspective. And thanks to his single mother's bad sexual experiences with men, he learns that sex is something dirty and wrong, something only whores do with perverted, no-good men. When there was nothing wrong with sex, there was just something wrong with the way she had relationships with men that led her to having bad sexual experiences. Boys from single-parent homes often have no idea how great sex can be. Misled by peers and misinformed by angry parents, they often have a negative perception of sex. Sex can be a wonderful thing when a boy is properly educated on his body and his natural male sexual energy. He can share himself with a woman physically, emotionally, and mentally and have a great sexual experience. The next one, misleading boys about male-female relationships. One of the biggest lies single mothers tell their sons is that he has to be a friend to a woman in order to have sexual romantic relationship with her, when this is not true at all. Following this advice leads boys winding up failing at romance. The truth is that women don't want to be friends with men. They choose to be romantically involved with. Most women choose their sexual partners and boyfriends within the first 5 seconds of looking at them. The single mother may want a man who is their friend after her failed relationships with men. The younger women who are functional and want a good relationship do not want their man to be their best friend. Men who are in the friend zone are men they have no sexual attraction to. Telling boys all women are whores, that's the next one. Many single mothers express their jealousy at younger women their sons get involved with. They'll say they don't want their sons to make the same mistake they did years ago, but that's a lie. What they resent is the youth and beauty of these women and the possibility that they'll have better character than they have. Moreover, single mothers resent the possibility that their sons will have a successful romantic relationship. Single mothers fear that if their sons have a successful romantic relationship, it will reflect badly on them. That it'll show how they were the reason why their relationship failed and how everything wasn't all that good. How everything wasn't on that no good man. Yeah, you can't blame the man. So they express their anger at those women, telling their sons that they're whores and sluts. The goal of this shaming language is to make the boy back away from a positively healthy relationship with a woman outside of her and continue maintaining a codependent relationship they have with each other. That means she's protecting the covert emotional incest. The last one, sabotaging his relationships with women, and these children will sabotage the mother's relationships with men. Single mothers hate their sons having girlfriends because they fear that as they get closer to this woman, he'll start establishing healthy boundaries that will sever the emotional hose they have hooked up to their son. If the son severs that hose, she'll have to do something like getting her own life. Yeah. Single mothers often have no idea the damage that they do to their sons every day, how their indirect actions are having a profound impact on their male child's upbringing, how the values they teach lead to their sons becoming men who can't navigate the challenges of life. And if you're a single mum, please put aside your grievances and let the father get involved with his life, his son's life. He's the only one who can teach him the lessons he'll need to become a man. When you try to raise a boy on your own, all you're doing is destroying his chances of growing up to become a functional adult. And I've seen this over and over. This is not bullcrap. This is real. Ways single mothers destroy their sons. I'm Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist. Thank you for joining me, and bye for now.